So what I was talking about was the progression of how Jesus went about seeing the expansion of the kingdom. And so up until Matthew 9, Jesus is the one who is starting these house churches, these spiritual communities, whatever you want to call them. So you have Peter's home. Clearly, that was a place. Martha and Mary in Bethany, that was a place. Probably Zacchaeus. Jesus is multiplying the kingdom in the context of these homes. So it's a home-based movement. But Jesus is the only, but he's training his guys. No doubt he's been praying the 10 to be prayer. No doubt Jesus has been praying that prayer. And you come to the end of Matthew 9, and we see this very important little paragraph. It says that when Jesus saw the crowds, he was moved with compassion because they were like sheep without a shepherd. They were harassed and helpless. Therefore, the motivation is compassion. As you look out into Lebanon or Ireland or Florida or whatever, and I think we all would see a lot of hurting people and chaos and all the rest. As our hearts are moved with that, Jesus says, what? What do you do? Start some big program? No, you have one goal. Pray this prayer. Beseech the Lord of the harvest to send forth workers. If you ask, what does a worker do? Why would Jesus focus on that prayer? Why is he asking for workers? What would they do? And I think the context of Matthew 9 tells us they would do the work of shepherds. That was the critical part. People were harassed and helpless. Why? They did not have shepherds. And of course, we would say that shepherding is really what spiritual moms and dads do. They're just doing really, really healthy parenting. So those concepts are all very close together. And so we see a major transition taking place in Matthew 10, verse 1. It's been Jesus up until now. Something has changed. Jesus calls 12 to himself, sends them out. He pairs them up, creates churches of two, pairs them up, sends them out two by two to find what? Houses that have been prepared. This is the prevenient work of God. And he even describes what that's like. And what do you do there? You impart the kingdom. What do? You eat with them, heal the sick, raise cast out demons. You do the stuff, right? As the Lord leads you. So now we have 13 people praying the 10 to be prayer. Jesus plus the 12 at least, right? What happens next? We go fast forward to Luke 10. We come to verse 1 of Luke 10. How long has it been? Has it been a year? It's hard to tell the chronology. And here Jesus calls 72 to himself. My belief is it's actually 84 because it's 72 others. So I think it's 72 plus the 12. We've got 84 guys. Does the same thing. There's a pattern here. This pattern's happening over and over again. Pairs them up, CO2s, and he sends them out to the places that he's going to go to do what? Same job. Find a house of peace. Look for the house of peace, where the Spirit of God has been working preveniently ahead of time. You don't have to talk to these people. When you find one of these, they're going to be ready. And so now we have 42 church planters going out. Huge increase. I think it's like a 700% increase. So we also have these people, church planters, but also he instructs them to pray the 10 to be prayer. So now we have 85 people praying this prayer at least. Got Jesus plus the 84. I think the next step in the progression is Acts 2. What do we see there? 3,000 people become followers of Jesus. What do they do? It says they met from house to house. If you assume 15 people in a house church, that says there were probably 200 house churches in Acts 2. Where did they come from? From Luke 10. These guys going out looking for houses of peace, finding them, imparting the kingdom. There are now 200 houses of peace in Jerusalem. And then we don't have a lot of statistics beyond that, but if you then fast forward all the way to 300 AD, what we know is the Roman Empire was about 60 million people. And Rodney Stark, one of the premier church historians, says Estimates are that 10% of the Roman Empire were Christians by that time. 6 million people. There were almost no church buildings, so where do they meet? In homes. 6 million people divided by 15, I think you end up with like 400,000 house churches. And Rodney Stark says if Constantine hadn't shown up, it's likely the Great Commission would have been fulfilled by the year 400. So Constantine was the beautiful substitute. It looks so good, we're not going to be killed anymore, persecuted, all the rest. But he takes over the church. And by the end of the 400s, house churches have become illegal. You're not able to do those because they're not official. Let me stop there to see if you have any comments or questions on that.
Of course, that was excellent. Thank you.
So I don't think it's changed for today. I think the same process. I call it the Jesus strategy. I think the Jesus strategy is appropriate for today. For Ireland, how are we going to reach Ireland? I think there's only one way. Or England or Lebanon or pick your area. I think it's the same process.
I think the key question for me is, as we mentioned before, what would Jesus expect the workers in the harvest to do?
Yes.
For me.
Say more about that, Neil. Why do you think that's so critical?
Because one, when we see people believe or converted, that is not the usual expectation.
Yeah.
And my expectation has largely been for people to go out and be fishers of men. And that is better than sitting in pews, but it isn't that practical.
Yes.
For most people.
Yeah.
And certainly most people won't go on to become pastors of big groups in churches, but there's a lot of people out there who are capable of inviting a small group into their home, training them up, and then replicating that.
I would even be so heretical as to say most evangelistic ministries, in my opinion, are actually deism.
Say that again. We just lost that there, John, just for a moment.
Most evangelistic programs, training, blah, 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 I think, this is heretical, I'm sure, are actually functional deism. What do I mean by that? A deist believes there is a God, but he's distant, not really involved, and so it's my job to figure things out. So I think most of these evangelistic programs are some guy who's gifted as an evangelist who figures out a program to motivate people to go out there and share the gospel. It gives them 4 spiritual laws or the da-da-da, and there's accountability and there's the pressure. People are going to hell. What are you going to do about that? Better get busy. Whereas I think what we're talking about is really based on prevenience. It's really, this is something God is doing, and we get to participate with him. Our participation is not us making it happen. It's us paying attention to what he's doing. It takes all the pressure off.
And it's instructive to think about Jesus saying that the people were like sheep without a shepherd, helpless and harassed. Therefore, Jesus did not say, go and work and burn yourself out.
Right, exactly.
Instead, therefore, go and beseech the Lord of the harvest for workers.
Yes. And if you ask the question, how many people in churches are well shepherded? Probably very few. There's a great verse in Hebrews 13:17 that says this: obey your leaders as those who keep watch over your souls, and do it in such a way that it would be joyful for them. So the implication is that a shepherd knows well the soul of the person that they're taking care of. It's not just you're going to preach a sermon, but they've gotten to know that individual, their soul, so that they can watch over, not tell them what to do, but they can disciple, mentor, whatever word you want to use, in a way that is transformational to that individual.
As a parent would.
Exactly. That's so true, Tony. That's exactly right. And so if we think how many people in the US or in England or Ireland in the churches have been well fathered. These are Christians, well fathered or well mothered even. It's not very many.
The whole implication of that is one of an intimate relationship, and you can only have that with a few people.
Yeah.
It's true. So that's what I'm going to come back to my podcast. That's what I'm feeling I think is going to be the focal point of this new podcast that I'm going to do, is really focusing on how do we become shepherds? How do we become spiritual moms and dads?
Very
Because
good.
that's the need of the hour.
Yes.
All the things we could do, I think that's the most important thing.
Well, again, John, just in reply to that, I think one of the best evangelical tools to use is the church to show what a community looks like with
Yes.
Jesus at the center and it functioning correctly. I think
Amen.
people would be looking to get in, they'd say, I want to be part of that.
Acts 2, God added to their number daily those who were finding salvation.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were seeing life.
Yeah.
People were beating you didn't have to go out there and reach the lost. People were beating the doors down on the churches to get in. How do I get in on this?
Yep.
It's like good stuff.
And Jesus gave a command that we love one another, and by this people would know that you're mine.
Yeah.